So I have not spoken publicly about it in 4 years. And because of how things are, because of changes in my life, because of just where I see we're going in the country, I wanted to speak to a journalist that I trust. So I went ahead and reached out to Tim Sharp and I said, Tim, I'm ready to sit down and talk about this. So I not only talk about a little bit about, my history of Parler and what I saw going on with the company and how I ultimately feel that led the road to Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and transitioning it to the best free speech hub online. But I also put out a warning, which is I think what's going to happen is before the end of the year, they're going to drum up accusations or something against either X itself as a platform. Either they will go ahead and, pull a red flag, a false flag operation and blame X for being complicit in some type of terrorist attack or some type of widely publicized crime or scandal, or they will go ahead and gin up something against Elon Musk and try and put him in jail before November.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on another episode of The Brian Nichols Show. Yes, I am your humble host, Brian Nichols, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in sunny Eastern Indiana. Today, a different type of episode. We are going back into the swing of things with our good buddy, Remso Martinez. We're talking about AMP America's Week in Review. Remso, welcome back to the Brian Nichols Show. How you been, buddy?
It's Friday, mother lovers.
It is Friday. Thank God. It's been a long week. What's been new in your world?
I started seeing a chiropractor this week, and he actually did what, the McDonald's chiropractors don't do. He actually took x-rays. And as he's looking at everything, he's like, you look like your spine is angry. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, but can we make it happy? And he was like, we can do that. And I swear, either he cracked my neck in the perfect way that I feel like a completely different human being, comfortable, happy, goodwill towards men, or I died. And this is just limbo. And every day feels kind of the same, but I can't tell. Other than that, it's been great. What about you?
I've been good. It sounds like you're living just like Remso's chiropractic version of Groundhog Day.
Basically.
Yeah. I think it's been good. Busy, lots of travel for work. July and August are it's supposed to be slower months. And then, of course, naturally, 13 things pop in the calendar that you weren't expecting that then has you on the road for multiple days out of the week. So let's see. Next week, I'm going to be out in Nashville. And a couple weeks after that, I'm going to be in Salt Lake City. I was up in northern New York. I was out in Pennsylvania. Yeah, man, it's been a road trip. Very excited, though, to at least have a couple more days settling here in the studio after getting back on the road for 2 weeks. So, yeah, man, it's been busy, but it's been good. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know how to frame that, but a lot's been happening despite our being busy, a lot here in the world. And that's what we're going to dig into today. I know that's what we call a segue in the industry.
Just keep spinning, baby.
That's right. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and, by the way, this is our AMP America Week in Review. So we go through and we outline the AMP America pieces that we had here that aired this past week. Now, this first article we're going to go ahead and check out, Remso. This is going to the state just the southeast of me, and that is the state of Kentucky. And one Governor Andy Beshear. Now, his name has been floated as being a possible VP candidate for Kamala Harris. Now, our buddy TJ Roberts, he's a writer over at AMP America. He also is he's running right now, I think, for State House in Kentucky, and he's got some personal beef with Andy Beshear. Dig into this for us, Remso. Why is TJ Roberts so against Andy Beshear not just being governor of Kentucky, but stepping foot into the White House?
The short answer is that TJ actually sued Andy during the lockdowns of 2020, and he won, which is worth noting. But the long story is that everyone that I call it the reverse DEI hire, everyone that Kamala is looking at is like a straight white male. She's looking at, Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona. She's looking at Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. And she's also looking at Beshear. And the thing is that right now you have something, I think, Cliff Maloney called it like the great theft of 2024, which is this concept that these radical leftists are actually trying to rebrand themselves as moderates. I guess to be a leftist, you just have to be, I guess to be a moderate, you just have to be a elected Democrat in a rural southern state, or, just a rural working class state, a Rust Belt state. So what does that qualify? That qualifies Beshear in Kentucky and Shapiro in Pennsylvania. And, what Cliff had mentioned, I think it was on the Tom Rotten show out of Philadelphia last week, and what TJ really brings up in this article, and TJ goes into depth. TJ is like, don't forget it. If you don't know this man, I'm going to go ahead and lay it down for you. Like, I'm laying the law. Like, things are getting hot and heavy here, because I'm about to tell you what's going on. That's how TJ would have put it if he had more gangsta in him, but he's gangsta enough. However, the thing is that Democrats have somehow been able to pull this giant smokescreen over just everyday voters who, at this point, I'm pointing to the voters saying they're responsible. And Republicans certainly didn't help in 2022 when they just completely like ditched the lockdowns and all the COVID mandates and all the COVID tyranny, and they tried to focus on inflation, which I thought was weird because they were just as responsible for that as the Democrats between 2020 and 2022. So, what TJ lays down in this article is like, listen, you saw what he did when he was in power. Imagine how this guy would be if he's not only speaking directly to the president, but God forbid something happens and he becomes president, because VPs do that sometimes. This is the type of thing that we're looking at. And he doesn't just go into that. He goes into the, men and women sports type stuff, the radical trans agenda, the alphabet mafia, that whole thing. It gets to the point where he's just really laying it down. It's like, if you believe this, you're willingly accepting a narrative. And it's this narrative that these people aren't as bad as they say they are. It's this narrative that they have actually helped working people across this country. And it's this narrative that they're not as radical, when their own records, their own rhetoric, their own actions have shown that when given the opportunity to do horrible things to American taxpayers, to American families, they're going to absolutely do it. The fact that we're having this conversation about people, and I mean, Mark Kelly just got caught being on the board of a company, which apparently he also helped found, that was responsible for creating the Chinese spy balloon that was going ahead and flying across the country on its, fun joyride back in 2023. That's a national security threat. Like, it just gets weirder and weirder when you really look at this. And it's just like, what's bad? The fact that they think they can dupe people like us about this, or the fact that there are people out there that are going to genuinely believe, well, Shapiro's not that bad? It's like, dude, I know that you left Pennsylvania because of the lockdowns. I was in Pennsylvania hiding out for a little bit in October of 2020, and like, it was weird. Like, the amount of state troopers that were out and stuff like that, either ignoring things in certain parts of the state, like the southern part of the state, or they were like really enforcing the COVID stuff, towards like Philadelphia, New York, and all that stuff. It was really a case of people are either going to completely ignore it because they know it's bullshit, or they're going to completely push it because the governor is pushing it. Yep. And Shapiro pulled out every mandate possible. Same thing went for Beshear. Beshear ran as a working class Democrat against Matt Bevin, who was the previous Republican governor, failed governor. And, he said that he was going to be better and that he was going to be, like pro-union, pro-family, maybe tax cuts and that type of thing. But he still had like that lefty populist message, and he just turned into another shit-lib liberal.
Hey folks, I want to take a moment to talk about something that has truly changed my life, and that is Cardio Miracle, our incredible studio sponsor. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard about Cardio Miracle and their claims about improving heart health, I was skeptical. But after using it for just about 2 months, I was absolutely blown away by the results. First, my blood pressure went from being consistently around 140/90 to a much more healthier and manageable 120/80. And my resting heart rate dropped from the low 70s to the high 50s. And I couldn't believe it. But the benefits didn't stop there. I started sleeping better, and I felt more energized at the gym, and my heart felt the best it's felt in years. And it's not just me. Hundreds of you, our amazing listeners, have reached out to share your own incredible experiences with Cardio Miracle. So, what is Cardio Miracle, and how does it work?
It's a carefully crafted supplement that harnesses the power of nitric oxide to support optimal heart function. So, by increasing nitric oxide levels in your blood, Cardio Miracle helps relax your blood vessels, improve circulation, and it protects your heart from damage. It's like giving your heart the support it needs to function at its best. And here's the best part. We've got an exclusive offer just for you, our loyal listeners here at the Brian Nichols Show. When you head over to cardiomiracle.com and use code TBNS at checkout, you'll get an extra 15% discount on your order. Plus, with their 100% money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, if you're ready to take control of your heart health and experience the life-changing benefits of Cardio Miracle for yourself, just click the link in the show notes or video description. Trust me, your heart will thank you. And don't wait another day to prioritize your health. Join the tens of thousands of folks who have already discovered the Cardio Miracle difference. Head to cardiomiracle.com now and use code TBNS for 15% off your order. Your journey to a happier and healthier heart starts today. And now, let's get back to the show.
I gotta warn. So this is my my plea to folks specifically in the Midwest, or more red areas. Remso hinted at this. I moved out of Philadelphia, PA, after living there for about 7 years, and during COVID, just the shit hit the fan. Right? It got weird. It got bad. And I was listening to a podcast here. We're recording Friday morning. This is live, by the way. So if you're in the stream, please head to the comments. Let us know your thoughts. But this is one of the things for me. I just feel a calling to keep this top of mind, because there seems to either be a memory holing or just an outright not realizing of what actually happened. And I was listening to a podcast here in the Midwest, a mutual buddy of ours who has a podcast, and they were doing, it was the Veep stakes. They're talking about who could be the next VP candidate for Kamala Harris. So I'm listening, and I'm hearing them go through the names we just listed here: Andy Beshear, Pete Buttigieg, Gretchen Whitmer, yeah, her, Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, all those folks, right? The list. And as they're going through those names, there's almost, from the host and the co-host standpoint, it was just like either a complete ignorance to what they did to their respective states, or just a tacit okayness with it. And the context of how bad things got during COVID, not just from, like, I know the medical side of things, that turns into a whole debate. Like, did the vax work? Did it not work? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the tyrannical just approach to controlling everything. I remember listening to Josh Shapiro's predecessor, Tom Wolfe, back right when COVID hit, and doing the whole, all right, we're going to determine who's essential and who's non-essential. Listen, I get it. If you lived in Indiana, you only had to deal with this stuff for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was. And then by the summertime, it was over. In more of your blue states, this stuff went on for over a year, up to 2 years in certain areas. And it wasn't just like that the conversation kept going or that it was uncomfortable and awkward. It was like, no, you're not going to have access to polite society. You want to go to your favorite restaurant? Bring your vaccine card. Oh, you want to just walk outside? Make sure you put that mask on, or maybe double mask. And that was just the status quo. And that doesn't even take into consideration the people who lost their jobs, the businesses that were forced shut, the people who suffered from and are, I'm guessing, still suffering from mental health issues that were due to the severe isolation and the severe shutting down of our society. Kids who are going to go through and went through 2 years of at-home remote education, and fast forward to where they are today, they are at least 2 to 3 years behind their peers at similar age groups because they didn't get the education they needed. Like, I need to say this to my friends on the more political right who are just completely out to lunch when it comes to what happened over the past 4 years. This is a big fucking deal, to paraphrase our current sitting president, Joe Biden. Like, this is a big deal when it comes to not just what happened, but the overall impact that was to your average person. And I hear this all the time, Remso. People say, well, Brian, we got to move forward. We got to paint a picture. People aren't interested in the COVID thing anymore. I don't care if you're not interested in the COVID thing anymore, because what you're doing, not you, but the folks on the left specifically, they're propping up the names from yesteryear who were the champions of the COVID restrictions, the COVID policies that impacted very real Americans to their detriment for years. And the fact that these names are being tossed out, like Josh Shapiro, like Andy Beshear, like Gretchen Whitmer, I'm just like, have your heads been underground? Do you not see what has happened? And by the way, if you're in the Midwest or you're in a red state and you didn't have to really go through the COVID insanity and you just don't get it, like what the big deal was, talk to somebody who lived in a blue state, who experienced it firsthand. Like, let them tell you their story. It's insane. Listen to the nurses who lost their jobs, who once they were heroes during the first year of COVID, then when the COVID mandate for the jab came out, they were all of a sudden the enemies in their hospitals because they didn't jump on board. Listen to their stories. Listen to the first responder stories who were kicked out of their jobs because they didn't get the shot. Listen to the folks who lost their businesses because they were told, hey, just hold on. 2 weeks to slow the spread. We're all in this together. Sing your little kumbaya song. Oh, I'm sorry. Your business closed. Oh, that's too bad. What are you going to do? Oh, you don't have any plan Bs because you didn't expect your business just to be arbitrarily shut down by governing bodies? Oh, that's too bad. That's what happened, right? And again, we just need to stop living in this fantasy world and acknowledge the elephant in the room of what actually happened and how dangerous some of these people actually are.
I'm waiting for the DNC in a couple weeks where they'll probably bring on a bunch of celebrities and, sing Imagine again. It's like, imagine COVID never happened.
We were
and
fine
Donald
the entire
Trump
time.
in jail. Think of all the trans kids we're putting parents in Guantanamo Bay. It's like, it's just like it's 1984. It's straight 1984. Don't believe what your eyes and your ears informs you of. This is what happened. And the fact that in just a couple of, not even 4 years completely, we have just completely just allowed so many people to go. I mean, I've been saying we need Nuremberg trials for COVID tyrants.
100%.
The fact that so many people, like in Maryland, like the Board of Supervisors in Maryland were one of the first in the East Coast to do contact tracing for restaurants and stuff. And they only targeted restaurants. That's a whole other story, but there's a reason why they only targeted restaurants. I mean, those people got reelected. That's the thing that blows my mind. It's like you saw what happened and you still reelected them. Like this is some American nightmare stuff.
All right, Remso, we are going to move on to a topic that's kind of around the same time during COVID, but it actually transcends to today. And it's going back to a social media platform that we have some inside exclusive access to what actually happened behind the scenes. But first, that's called a segue. We're going to go ahead and give a shout out to one of our awesome new sponsors here on the Brian Nichols Show, and that is the Expat Money Summit. Remso, what is the Expat Money Summit? Well, I'll tell you. I'm glad you asked. It is the world's largest offshore event taking place entirely online. So anywhere you live, you can have access to this entire event from October 7th through October 11th. The summit is being put on by our mutual buddy, Mikkel Thorup from the Expat Money Show, and a highly sought after expat consultant who has spent over 2 decades of experience helping people craft ideal international lifestyles, which you look at America right now, Remso, maybe not a bad idea to start just looking at your options.
Panama's starting to look pretty good.
Yeah, maybe we'll reach out to our buddy Mikkel and see about Panama. So when you're talking about looking at the Expat Money Summit, you're going to discover everything you need to know about crafting your perfect plan B. Yeah, because plan A ain't looking too great right now. So that includes how to quickly acquire a second passport, how to diversify your finances offshore, invest in international real estate, and get in-depth insights to geopolitics from world-renowned experts. Like who? Oh, I don't know. How about people like Dr. Ron Paul, Doug Casey, Scott Horton, Tom Woods, Mike Faber, Tom Lugano, and more. So if you want to go ahead and get are you ready for this? Free tickets, head to expatmoneysummit.com and you can go ahead and grab your tickets starting today. The summit starts October 7th and runs through October 11th. But yes, the virtual seats are limited, so act fast. Get your tickets today. One more time, expatmoneysummit.com. Really excited to have them as a sponsor here on the Brian Nichols Show. All right, let's move forward here, Remso. Let's talk about this old social media platform. Apparently, we have a former executive from this old social media platform. This platform was called, Remso, have you ever heard of this? Parler back in the day? Talk to us about that.
I was at Freedom Fest earlier in July, and I haven't been to too many conferences since the pandemic. I've been to a couple. But the first one I went to post-pandemic was in 2021. It was a State Policy Network conference in Orlando, Florida. And I noticed that people treated me different. It was different. When I used to go to conferences, people used to run up and hug me and high five me and stuff like that. But 2021 was different. And I wondered why. And that kind of stuck with me for years. And then when I went to Freedom Fest, it's like people were happy to see me again. And I thought I was going to be kind of treated like last time. It was going to be ignored. The crazy thing, however, is that most people remember me not for the cool stuff I've done, but they remember me for Parler. And it just so happened that within the last couple months, Parler was bought out a third or fourth time by some folks with some previous affiliations with it, and they plan on bringing it back. So that caused some rumblings, and people were asking me about it. And I want to state now that I have nothing to do with it. However, we're getting to a point where I'm seeing a lot of the same interactions, the same way that people are treating each other online. I'm starting to see what's happening now, given our political climate. Remind me of what happened in 2020. In 2020, I mean, there's a reason why I tell people, like, I went on the run, for almost a year. It's because I was involved in a national witch hunt against a platform which was falsely accused, yet later vindicated by the FBI of not committing any wrongdoing whatsoever. I was afraid that I was going to be pulled before the House Oversight and Reform Committee and the Jan 6 committee, and the FBI was at the time saying that Parler was complicit and all this other shenanigans and stuff. And later that year, after all the
politics, by the way, Remso, I don't mean to interrupt, but behind the scenes, we, in my day job and in your day job, we were actually talking about some business stuff together for like technical side of things, and this was when all the shit hit the fan.
Yeah. So, all these politicians raised money and fear mongered and tried to drive, the competition of big tech underground. And alternative technology underground. And, it was later in 2021 that the FBI came out in their official reports and said that Parler did nothing wrong. Parler was totally abiding by the letter of the law. But frankly, that has never been discussed. And, my biggest thing that I was grateful for was that I was able to escape that with my life and my reputation, because that was a very scary year for me. So I have not spoken publicly about it in 4 years. And because of how things are, because of changes in my life, because of just where I see we're going in the country, I wanted to speak to a journalist that I trust. So I went ahead and reached out to Tim Sharp, and I said, Tim, I'm ready to sit down and talk about this. So I not only talk about a little bit about my history of Parler and what I saw going on with the company, and how I ultimately feel that led the road to Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and transitioning it to the best free speech hub online. But I also put out a warning, which is I think what's going to happen is before the end of the year, they're going to drum up accusations or something against either X itself as a platform. Either they will go ahead and, pull a red flag, a false flag operation and blame X for being complicit in some type of terrorist attack or some type of widely publicized crime or scandal, or they will go ahead and gin up something against Elon Musk and try and put him in jail before November. I do strongly think they're going to do that, because these are the people who will absolutely do anything they can to sway the narrative for this election. We saw it with the Hunter Biden laptop. We saw it with shadow banning. We saw it with the deplatforming of conservative thought leaders and public figures online. I don't think that just because things have changed a little bit and the pieces and the players are different doesn't mean that the tactics are the same. You can give me two different chessboards and I'm still going to play the same game. So I went ahead and basically, explained what happened. Some of the stuff I couldn't go into too much detail on because of ongoing NDAs. And while a lot of the terms of that have expired, there were some, majorly spiteful individuals in that company. I've thought about writing a book about it eventually one day. I think I might wait for some people to die out before that happens. But largely, it's like, this is my life. I'm tired of being afraid of what happened. because I did nothing wrong. And, you know, my crime, if anything, was that I fought for free speech online. A lot of people talk about it. They put it in their Twitter bios and shit like that. But the thing is that nobody has had their lives completely upended because they were trying to do something good. And it was a platform that, you know, it was a threat. We were taking away market space, and they took us out. They took us out in the largest deplatforming in history. And it is a trauma that I have had to deal with over 4 years. But I felt like if I want to own my truth, if I want to go ahead and, you know, stop the bullshit so people remember me for the good things I tried to do and not because of what the media tried saying, that's a tough thing to get above. And I mean, I'm just a small fry in a big world, but I don't want people to forget that the things that they did then is what they could do now. And I greatly fear for Elon Musk's safety.
Yep. Well, and by the way, I mean, just elephant in the room. This is also why I find that these conversations are so important, is because, again, people have so memory hold what actually happened, Remso. And I'm in this libertarian Facebook group, and I like to ruffle some feathers here and there because sometimes I see, pardon the expression, the autism just way too much in that group. You need to really bring it down to real life levels. So when I talk to folks, though, in that group, there just seems to be a lot of anger at folks who are, dare I say, spectators in their own life. So by that, I mean, they see all the things happening around them and they feel more or less like they have zero control. They're just kind of along for the ride. Whereas I kind of view what you're talking about with your role at Parler and some of the other stuff that you and I have been doing behind the scenes, obviously with what we're doing at AMP America, but, you know, our other ventures we've done, you know, behind the scenes as well. Like we focus on creating something different, creating something better, creating something of value. And whether it's, you know, what we're doing here at AMP, what you were doing at Parler or something therein, it's actually like leading the charge versus just sitting back and waiting for things to happen and then reacting as those things, both good and bad, happen. And I think that right there speaks to where there is such a discrepancy between the political activist and the political spectator. The political activist is somebody who's actually going out and being active. They're making things happen. They're making change. Whereas the political spectator, it's somebody who sits there, watches what's going on. You know, Monday morning quarterbacks, I would have thrown the ball here. Okay, well, you want to play quarterback and go throw the ball there? I got tap dance lessons, whatever it may be. Okay, good. You're just going to sit there and bitch and moan. I understand your role now. Okay. Gotcha. I'm not going to take you seriously, probably. Like, I'm just going to look at you as a silly Billy, and I'm going to go about my day. That is where I'm at, Remso. Like, I'm looking at the folks who are the activists, who are the folks actually putting the money where their mouth is, folks like you, folks like me, folks like Elon Musk. Yes, I will lump us in the group with Elon Musk, absolutely, because, I mean, dude, back in 2020, you guys at Parler were doing the thing that Elon Musk was going to do 2 years later when he took over Twitter. And you know, he was able to eliminate some of the red flags that ended up putting Parler in danger. And that's huge. There's stuff we can learn from that. And by the way, this is the one thing I'll get off my soapbox with this, Remso. I hate when people will look at one specific use case that didn't pan out, like Parler, and they say, see, why are you wasting your time? This is stupid. Just use the things that are there. Or go spend your time in more productive areas. And I say this, for every Parler situation where shit hits the fan, it is a learning opportunity to see what worked and what didn't work. And what does that do? It gives us a foundation to build on for the next great thing, which is what Elon's done and what's happening over at Truth Social. Instead of saying, uh-oh, we have Amazon web servers and they can be shut down like that, how about we decentralize and we own our own servers? How about that? And all of a sudden, you're changing the conversation. You're learning along the way. So to the folks who think that just because you have one use case that doesn't turn out the best way it's supposed to, don't worry. You can learn. You can adapt. Your GTM, your go-to-market strategy will change, and that's okay. So with that being said, let's go to our last AMP America piece before we go to our special contribution piece. And that is today we're going to talk kind of about, this is like taking the conversation, Remso, we've had today and going a little tangential to the cultural side. How did we as a society get to this point where it is so heated? And now we're in a position where people are openly questioning and some folks openly supporting the idea of assassinations on former political presidents. Now, our buddy Austin Peterson, he wrote an article over at AMP America called Stochastic. Did I say that right, Remso? Stochastic?
I hope so.
I am the product of a public education, so I'm not too sure. Stochastic terrorism, how the left's rhetoric nearly got Trump assassinated. This is obviously being recorded here in August of 2024. I pray this is not any foreshadowing of things to come, Remso, beyond all the horrible things that have already happened. So talk to us about Austin's piece here. What's kind of the thesis that Austin lays out?
Essentially, the left's biggest power is projection. What they do is they take the things they're doing and the insecurities they have, and they project it onto their opponents. And, I can't look at a single interview that Trump has done with the leftist media where they don't bring up his rhetoric, where they don't bring up something, and they hold him to account for that. And they look and micromanage every word. And, for people who are like, I don't know what you're talking about, it's like, have you been living under a rock since 2015 when he announced that he was running for the 2016 general election? And, while this could be a, quid pro quo, he said, she said, tit for tat type of thing. The thing is that Republicans never go to this length. And I want to mention that when Trump was shot in July, no cities were burned down. No people were murdered, no businesses destroyed. It's this idea that they always go back to January 6th, which was like, I don't even know if we can call it a riot anymore. Each time we get more information about what really went down, everything just begins to trickle down. It was, I would say it was a bad mob rush on the Capitol, but I don't even know if I would say riot, especially when you look at the cities that were burnt down by BLM and Antifa and the businesses, the black-owned businesses, the people murdered, somebody did an assessment of it, the hundreds of millions of damages across the country for an entire summer. I mean, freaking, wasn't it Seattle or Portland, which was like overrun by like a warlord or something? Like,
yeah, they had their own little like pseudo city inside of the city.
Chop?
Was it Chop? Yeah.
And they were just like, well, that's just completely normal. That's the summer of love. And it's just like, what's wrong with you people? The left has been talking, and I mean, even, like rhinos like Rick Wilson from the Lincoln Pack, who said, we got to put a bullet through them and things like that. Like they keep putting this mental image of assassinating him into the world, and the list of liberal commentators, MSNBC, CNN, you name it, who have put this idea that, he's the biggest existential threat to the world. Somebody after Trump was shot in the ear went ahead and said, oh, look at all the people sending prayers to Hitler. It's just,
well, by the way, Dave Smith had the quote. He's like, I think it was like all the folks who are like wishing Donald, like the celebrities, the Obamas, the Bidens, the Clintons, wishing President Trump a speedy recovery. And he goes, well, which is it? Is he Hitler, or are you wishing him a speedy recovery? Because you don't wish Hitler a speedy recovery.
That's it. That's it right there. Yeah, I mean, they've been projecting this for years, and the fact that nobody takes responsibility for it is ridiculous. And I mean, people need to stand back for a minute. This isn't the first time this happened. Look at Rand Paul. Rand Paul was physically attacked. He had a lung popped. He broke, I think, 5 or 6 ribs. Rand Paul,
and he was attacked in D.C. People forget about that.
Well, Steve Scalise was shot at the Republican practice for the congressional.
Wherever Rand Paul is, don't be, because it seems that bad shit happens. You're mowing the lawn, get attacked by your neighbor. You're doing a baseball practice, get shot up by a crazy leftist. Walking from dinner to like the I forget where he was walking to in DC, get swarmed by a mob of angry progressives. Like, run if you see Rand Paul on the street. Run.
Sadly, it's at that point. And I mean, other Republicans, I used to write for a site called The Political Insider in 2022 through 2023. And one thing we categorized were the number of Republican councilmen, Republican mayors, Republican candidates who had their homes broken into. And there was a congressional candidate in South Carolina whose house was shot up by a liberal who did a drive-by. I mean, and those things never get picked up. Ever. But, you want to talk about political violence in this country, the political violence among the left. I actually considered putting a Trump Vance sticker on my Toyota, and my wife said no. And I was like, okay, just curious, like why? And she's like, because I don't want someone to vandalize our car. Only in this country is it just like an open fact. And I agreed with her after that. I'm like, we're not going to put it on the car. It's like you can almost expect that if you're going to put a Republican bumper sticker and you live in a Democrat area, I'm on like the border between Waukesha County and Milwaukee County. If I'm in Waukesha County, I'm good. If I drive into Milwaukee, I don't quite know whether or not somebody's going to vandalize my car or not. When I used to have a Kia, I used to worry about that for different reasons. But it's almost just like, leftists will do that because that's what they do. And leftists can go ahead. I mean, you're seeing it with these Hamas protesters and stuff like that, doing what they do best, defacing public property, threatening people. To believe that this is the America where it's like you're going to go ahead and prop up a terrorist state. And I want to separate two things real fast. I pray for the people of Palestine every day. And I think the problem in terms of that is not the Palestinians, it's Hamas. I think people need to really look at the difference between Palestine and Hamas. I think what's happening against Palestinians is horrible. It's primarily because of Hamas. But it's this idea that we're going to go ahead and attack cops. We're going to go ahead and attack, Jewish students on college campuses. Only the left can get away with this. All these threats of like white supremacists going around the country and stuff like that. It's like, okay, show me. I don't like white supremacy either. I'm a mixed race American. I don't like any type of racial supremacy. Show me the threat and I'll believe it. But the only people I see accosting people, setting things on fire, threatening folks, like it's all on the left. And Austin is accurate when he says it's like they take no responsibility for what they say. They deny it vehemently. And this is the climate they have created, and they do so intentionally. This idea, and I think Marco Rubio said this about Barack Obama in 2016. He said, don't think that Obama is stupid. Obama is not stupid. He's intentional. The left is not stupid. The left is very serious people. And they know exactly what they're doing, and they will, they are strapped to the hilt with all the tools and things that they need to do, and the vindication that they feel that they have to go ahead and do illegal, criminal, and just harmful things.
And they have, from a strategy standpoint, they have so well mapped out how to get these coalitions of groups that frankly have nothing to do with one another, but get them mobilized to vote for one to vote for one cause. And look no further than Gays for Palestine, right? Like you highlighted the difference between Palestine and Hamas, but let's just be transparent here. Homosexual behavior is not exactly looked upon really highly in more, I will say, conservative Muslim culture.
Plus, you want to learn how to fly.
You better learn how to fly real quick, especially if you're visiting our friends over in Saudi Arabia, but that might be a different conversation for a different day. But like right there, that when you look at how they've been able to mobilize this.
I would like to go ahead and say that I respect the Saudi royal family, and that if you want to fly me to Riyadh to watch Mike Tyson fight somebody, I would totally appreciate that opportunity.
Remso's going to get his VIP room in that new wall city that they're building there in the desert. You're just going to have like a penthouse suite overlooking the middle of nowhere. It's going to be great.
I tell people all the time the real political divide in the world is not right or left or whatever you think it is. It's, are you team Qatar or are you team Saudi Arabia?
Now Remso's asking the questions.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing that goes into it. But
I saw this video of this guy. He's like, in Dubai, we do not go to gas station. Gas station come to us. And he like goes to an app and pushes a button in his exotic car, and a fuel truck shows up at his like random spot he was sitting and just fills his car up right there. I was like, that's pretty nifty. But okay, going back to my point before we bring it home.
All my favorite boxers, I was like, something's going on.
Mike Tyson it up. And by the way, I've been seeing folks drifting in and out of the stream here. I know we're early today. We're an hour earlier than we were last week. That was just scheduling stuff. You see Remso looking all fancy. He's got some stuff to do today. So we're recording a little early. Have no fear. We are going to re-air this at our normal 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're joining us right now and you're like, oh no, I missed the first over half hour of the episode, don't worry, we're going to have all of it airing at 6:30 p.m. as well, so you can go ahead and check that out. But just going back to my point, Team Beach Ultimate. Thank you, Mr. Coville. Not sure what the reference is, but I love it. All right. So with that, the coalitions, right? Obama understood in 2008 that like after that 2008 election, he was in trouble. What ended up happening was he had the Tea Party revolution. The Republicans took back the House and the Senate by force in 2010. I mean, it was a bloodbath. Am I allowed to use those words anymore? I don't know. But then you look in 2012, what happened? First of all, 2012 was really like taking the first ever real internet election in 2008 and like just laser focusing it from an effectiveness standpoint. So Obama said, okay, we can now market to these specific coalitions of folks. So if I want to go after the trans, black, oppressed minorities, whatever it may be, group that I want to target, I can directly target that group. And if I want to go after the white wine drinking cat moms who are in their mid 40s, I can go after them too. Hate me like JD Vance, go for it. They can target now all these specific groups of people. And with that, now they can mobilize very different groups. White wine drinking moms in their 40s are not the same demographic as like blue collar labor union guy who's a car manufacturer out in the Midwest, right? But Obama was able to bring this group together, and it propelled him to victory, saying, if I can take all of your issues and all the top problems you have, and I can make it the top of my campaign, that's what we're going to do. And that's what he did. He used that to propel himself into the election and to win in 2012, to win re-election. And that's been the Democratic Party's strategy. That's been their playbook for the past, 10 years, 8 years, basically, is how can we take these very different but very, very active groups of cause issues and make this, for them, feeling that my issues are being represented on a large national stage. Now, there will inevitably come a time, Remso, where the rubber will meet the road, where gays for Palestine or queers for Palestine are going to have to meet the actual Palestinians or the actual Muslim folks that they're supporting, and then have a real dialogue.
Migration, that won't be so far away. That's happening right now.
And I will pay to see those conversations. I want to hear what the dialogue looks like. I want to hear how the rainbow flag carrying person will respond to somebody saying the truth of what they believe.
When all those Afghan refugees came to the United States after the withdrawal of U.S. troops in Afghanistan, they actually came over to my area in Northern Virginia, and they had a problem because as they tried to put these, the children, as they tried to put them in, public schools, the parents were actually pulling them out and having problems because they're like, we will not let our children be lectured by these people. And it was like, what's your problem? It's like they're pushing the alphabet agenda and the homosexuality pushing on children, and they're letting boys in girls' rooms and stuff like that. And it's just like,
hey, sometimes you get what you wish for. Now you might not necessarily end up actually wanting what you wished for.
You're telling me that multiculturalism pushed is not necessarily the best thing you want in most cases when you bring the third world into the modern world?
Well, and this is the thing, Remso. This is where public education is so fucking dangerous. Pardon the language. We're having some fun today on a Friday.
Usually I drop the F-bombs. This is
we're going to have some fun. But this is where it's so dangerous because we were taught when we were kids, cultural assimilation is welcome. That's what makes America great. We were taught the e pluribus unum, from many one, which, yes, but there was also a very different world. It was different standards. The context was different. Right now, we're literally just flooding in millions of people. The context of the number of people who are coming over our border right now versus what it was back in the 1900s. Give me a freaking break. It not only is different, but the culture is different.
Undocumented immigrants alone that have crossed our southern border are double the population of Wisconsin. We're talking.
Say it again. Just say it again one more time, Remso. Drive that point home.
Undocumented immigrants over the last year flooding over the southern border are twice the population of Wisconsin. And we don't know who they are. We don't know where they are.
But that's not a concern. No. That's not an issue. Don't you dare bring that up, you racist. This is what happens, right? Sorry for noticing. Sorry for calling out what's actually taking place.
I'm sorry. I like my country with laws.
And and then by the way, Remso, this is the argument that is so frustrating for me is that you can't and I see this from libertarians a lot where they'll be like, you can't talk about a thing because if you do, that means you hate whoever you're talking about. It's like, no, it means we're talking about a thing because it's real and it exists. Like, stop pretending that we live in this utopian, idealistic world. It's like, well, my libertarian, like, nap world, it exists. I'm so happy. No, it doesn't exist. Your perfect world where everybody's a libertarian and lives exactly by the same values and principles you do, not only doesn't exist, it will never exist. I'm sorry, I hate to be that person to tell you this, but there are bad people in the world, and there's going to always be bad people in the world who are overtly not libertarian, meaning they don't give a fuck about your principles. They don't give a fuck about your values. They will go out of their way to go after your values, attack your values in the name of promoting and defending their values. So stop pretending that you can change somebody's mind. I sell contact center stuff in my day job. I am not going to go to one of my competitors and convince them, hey, you're wrong. Our product is better and you need to just sell our stuff instead because we're better. No, because they're my competition. They're going to sell against me. That's their job. That's politics. There are people who are going to sell against us. That's their job. Stop trying to argue with the people who are selling against you. Instead, go to a market of people who are looking to buy what you are selling and are actually same church, but maybe different pew than you are, and sell to them. It drives me crazy that this is the narrative that people bring to the table. And Remso, I need to drive this point home. This is folks who literally, like, the people you're trying to convince, in many cases, they don't like you. In many cases, they don't care about you. And you look to and this is our last article. We're going to drive this point home. So we saw Sheetal. She steps down, the at the time secretary, the head of the Secret Service. She steps down, and she's replaced by the acting director, Ronald Rowe. Okay, we have a different guy in there. Should be better, right? Yeah, you'd think, except turns out that our acting Secret Service chief, he actually retaliated against agents who had security concerns at the Trump event. And that's according to a new whistleblower claim. We're reading this from the Daily Caller from Rebecca Zelchko. You good luck. There we go. See, language is hard for me, apparently, or names at least. So a whistleblower alleged that Secret Service acting director Ronald Rowe personally cut security resources and, quote, retaliated against agents with security concerns leading up to former President Donald Trump's rally on July 13th, according to a letter released Thursday. I mean, Remso, this sounds kind of important.
Everything that conservatives have been saying about how Congress has treated the Secret Service and what the Secret Service is really doing the past 4 years has really been vindicated, because we were saying the entire time what they want to do is they want to go ahead and take Trump's Secret Service protection away. They want to put him in jail. That was just basically a soft paw approach to trying to getting him killed. And what we definitely know, and we saw this with Congresswoman Jackson, who died recently, former member of the squad. She was pushing to cut, and she actually got cuts made to the Secret Service budget regarding, prior presidents. So who are we dealing with right now? We're dealing with Bush, Clinton. I highly doubt that they had less protections because of this. What they were trying to do was they were trying to go for Trump, and Trump had to supplement his security sometimes himself. So what we know is that, the opportunity for a drone was denied, that they said that the reason they didn't go up on that roof was because it was sloped, and that, nobody can go ahead and do that. The most trained bodyguards in the world couldn't do that. We learned that, some of the people there on scene who were wearing suits were not even Secret Service. They were local law enforcement and stuff like that. So they basically had to supplement local law enforcement in for Secret Service. The more we learn about this, the more, and I really went against people saying, look what they did to Trump. And I'm like, no, look what one horrible, sick person did to Trump. But now things are starting to look, I'm not pushing anything, but I was very much of the mind that said, don't say they did it, because Democrats didn't try and do it. No one tried to do it. One person. Look at the shooter. However, I saw a report recently, I don't know if it was on Newsmax or somewhere else, where you had several ballistics experts go ahead and, basically they examined the footage, and they examined the audio of
the audio files,
of the firearm of the AR-15 rifle. And what they're starting to say, and my wife was actually the one who brought this up to me, is that it sounds like there are multiple shooters. And yesterday,
and by the way, Remso, I don't mean to interrupt your train of thought, but did you see the video that was released where they showed the shooter on the roof for 15 minutes beforehand?
Well, I saw one literally yesterday where somebody in the crowd behind Trump is filming Trump, and you can see the guy on the roof running.
Yeah.
And I'm just
like, they didn't see that. But Secret Service didn't see that. The snipers on the other roofs, they didn't see that. They don't look for that kind of stuff. That's not a red flag.
Yeah, and this guy has no social media, and he didn't exist. And, you know, one minute he's a Republican, the next minute he's a drag queen, and all these other things. I'm like, I think this is, I'm not saying I believe this, but I'm starting to think that maybe that guy didn't shoot Trump.
That's breaking news, Remso.
I'm like, just from all this, like, you cannot have that many problems at the same time, and the one time somebody actually is able to pull a trigger at the president. And remember, this is the second time somebody shot Trump. The first time somebody tried to shoot him, they tried to shoot him in 2015, and luckily either the gun missed or somebody else was hit. The Secret Service rushed him. This is when Trump was running for president in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. Somebody got very close, and luckily he had Secret Service protection at the time. So we know that Secret Service can protect him. But this time, can you pull up that other comment? I want to read that real fast. That was one of the that guy was one of the seriously injured that captured the video of the shooter running on the roof. It's like,
so the guy who actually was videotaping, the one you mentioned, Remso, the guy was running across. You can see him. That guy who recorded that was somebody who actually got hit with the bullets when they came in at Trump.
Yeah, this whole thing, like, the more that comes out, it's like 2 weeks ago, I would have been like, it's one person. It was just the worst unintentional circumstance ever. Now, the more that's coming out, I'm like, this is
and then you add in, Remso, the weird stuff that's happening as well, where, like, you go to Google and you type in, like, assassination of president, and you hit the letter T, and you know how Google does the auto complete and it fills the rest. They're not doing that for Trump. It's like it's giving you answers about other past assassinations on other past presidents, or articles about Kamala Harris pop up, and people like Elon Musk are drawing this to attention, saying, is this election interference? Isn't this how this works? Isn't this the game we play, that this is technically election interference? Because if I'm an average voter and I'm trying to learn about what happened with the assassination attempt on Trump, you're probably going to go to Google, you're probably going to go to Facebook, and you're going to look this shit up. And if you go to start typing assassination attempt on president and then nothing's popping up, am I missing something? Did I misread something? Did he actually get shot at? And that's the stuff that gets planted. It's not, this is the plausible deniability on behalf of the big tech companies. It's going to be like, oh, it was an update. We didn't mean for this to happen. But the damage has been done, right? It's like, once the truth gets out, the lies already traveled halfway around the world and then some, whatever the expression is. But, like, same idea. If Google can do something where they have, stopped a search result from going out the way it was supposed to, that person doesn't have the full dose of information that they're supposed to have when they're trying to be an informed voter. And that's entirely due to Google manipulating the search results. It's due to Facebook censoring videos and censoring pictures about Trump's assassination attempt. Guys, this was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks, and it's already off of social media. Like, go to your social media right now. What are you going to see? Guarantee you're going to see stuff about the Olympics. You're going to see stuff about Kamala being the next best thing in the world. Like, she's the new female Obama. You're going to see JD Vance is weird. How many things you're going to count about Trump literally 2 weeks ago? The 45th president of the United States almost losing his life, actually getting shot, having blood pouring down his face. Nowhere to be seen. It's like it didn't even happen. And that right there, Remso, that's the scariest part to me, because we're seeing this happen in real time. This is a 2-week period. What's it going to be like in 2 years, man? What's going to be like in 20 years when our kids are reading history and they're like, okay, and there was a shot fired at a rally. Like, okay, that's it. Cool. Move on. No, not that Trump actually literally got shot and there was blood pouring down his face. Well, here, let me go look. Let me go on the Googles. I don't see anything on the Googles. Why? I don't think it actually happened, right? And that's how it starts. So I know we're getting hard pressed for time here, Remso. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up today with our final thoughts. My final thoughts are simply this. Ask questions. Don't just take the corporate media's promotion of truth at face value. You got to ask questions. You got to be curious, right? Always be curious. That's one of the best assets of any salesperson, and I dare say any just critical thinker in our world today. You got to always ask questions. If something doesn't make sense, just say it. Tell me more. What? Why? Help me understand. Make sure that the person that you're asking can actually, back up the claims that they're bringing to the table. So that's my final thoughts for today. Remso, what do you have for us on your end?
Don't get comfortable. This election isn't over. A lot can change. And, history didn't start yesterday. These things have happened. And what's only going to get worse is if we continue to treat these politicians like they can just get away with things over and over and over and over again. You want to get rid of them? It's at the voting booth. So make a plan, get ready, go vote. And
I will leave us with this. Was another comment from Mr. Coville. Question everything. Here. If you want to get your question everything shirt, head to briannicholsshow.com/shop. Use code TBNS. You'll get 15% off your order. Remso, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up today. Thank you to all the folks who joined us today for our live stream. Apologies again that we are about an hour or so early than normal. We're going to be fiddling around with this time, probably 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesdays. On Friday mornings, we'll do this live stream, and then yes, it will re-air at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So the folks who are night owls like me, I'm a night owl and a morning bird or an early bird, so I'm just always tired. I guess that's my lot in life, but I digress. Yes, go ahead, support the show. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching us on, x.com now. Give us a repost, give us a like. If you're on Facebook, give us a comment, give us a heart, all that fun stuff. It helps the show reach more people, gets the show into more people's timelines, and promotes the show to more and more folks as well. Also, please support our amazing sponsors like the Expat Money Summit. Links in the show notes, as well as our good friends over at Cardio Miracle. And, of course, our phenomenal sponsors here for the show. And, frankly, where Remso and I spend a lot of our time. That is AMP America. So please go ahead, support AMP America, the news you need to know without the corporate media bias or fluff. AmpAmerica.com. With that being said, go find yours truly on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram at B Nichols Liberty. You can find Remso at Hey Remso on X, on Facebook. And Remso, we're going to go ahead and find you on Instagram. Is it Go Remso?
It's Go Remso. I just hit my mic. It's Go Remso on Instagram, GORAMSO on Instagram. It's Hey Remso, HEYRAMSO on X.
Find the show on your favorite podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or for the video version of the show, yes, you get to see Remso and my lovely faces this early in the morning. Head to YouTube, head to x.com, head to Facebook, Rumble, wherever it is you consume your video content. Hit that subscribe button, hit that little notification bell, and of course, head down below into the comments. We want to hear your thoughts on our AMP America Week in Review. With that being said, we're going to wrap things up here. Have a great weekend. Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show, AMP America Week in Review. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.